Hello, this is Yogeshwar 7000 again, and I'm back with another interesting topic on Vedic astrology. And today we'll be talking about planets and diseases associated with it. And we always have a situation sometime in our lives that we get troubled by diseases, or we have a relative or a friend or somebody whom we know is troubled by diseases, and he's actually struggling with it. And it becomes imperative because, of course, there's one way of treating and dealing with that disease through the science of medicine, and there's Western medicine, and then there is Ayurveda, and that's another approach altogether. But sometimes the concept of medical astrology comes in, which means that we try to diagnose the disease through the birth chart and see why this disease has happened, which planet is causing the disease, and based on which we can try to treat it. And sometimes for planets like Rahu and Ketu, it becomes very important. Why? Especially because Rahu and Ketu can give diseases which cannot be diagnosed that easily by any medicine or any kind of a Western medicine or even Ayurveda. It becomes very difficult because they are shadow planets. They have the mastery over illusion and hiding, and so the diseases associated with Rahu and Ketu also cannot be diagnosed as easily, because Rahu is about ultraviolet rays. Ultraviolet is which cannot be seen, and similarly Ketu is about infrared rays, which of course once again cannot be diagnosed, cannot be seen. So especially for Rahu and Ketu, and even for the other 7 planets, as astrologers, we should understand as to what planets, what diseases, so that once we can or the other way around, not once we can know the disease, but the other way around, once we see a particular symptom in somebody, then we can try to find out what could be the cause of the disease, and we try to deal with that problem astrologically through Vedic remedial measures, so on and so forth. So coming to Sun basically is a very hot planet. So the diseases related to Sun would be diseases that could give you high fever. And I've seen that many times, where Sun is extremely afflicted or sometimes extremely strong. And I know of a particular case where, Sun was well placed in somebody's chart, and some astrologer told him to enhance the power of Sun through wearing a red ruby. And so one has to be very cautious, especially in dealing with the planets which are favorable to you. But if you make them too strong, it can give you opposite effects. And he wore a red ruby, a very good quality red ruby, and he ran into a situation of extremely high fever, so much so that eventually it damaged his body for a long time, and it took him a lot of time to recover back into health. So that's one example I'm just giving you. So and sometimes if Sun is afflicted, of course these problems or these diseases related to the planet Sun can come through. So fever and high temperature and the body heat, that's related to the planet Sun. And also sometimes, since Sun is the significator of the first house, and the first house rules over head, it can give a very, very strong aching head. And sometimes doctors are not able to diagnose the reason behind an aching head, and they try to prescribe it through painkillers, so on and so forth. But as astrologers, we can go beyond that scope and look into the chart and see, well, is it the planet Sun? So we should be aware of what diseases are related to what planets. And this video is going to cover it in a very brief way, because it cannot be, the time limitation does not allow us to go detailed in the kind of diseases. So Sun definitely is connected with problems related to the head, high fevers, high temperature, body heat. So that's something which we should be aware of. The second planet, Moon, And of course, when we are talking about diseases, obviously sun is going to be malefic. It will not be positive. So we are talking when sun is malefic in somebody's chart, the kind of diseases he can get. Similarly, when moon is malefic, it causes diseases which could be related to the eyes as well as just cataracts. So not that every time somebody is diseased with cataract in his eyes it has to be moon, but you have to look at the planet moon whether it has a connection or not. So cataract is one connection with the planet moon. Jaundice, some people say Jupiter has a connection with jaundice, but the ancient scriptures say that jaundice has a connection with the planet moon. So have a look at that. And inflammation of the nose has been described in the ancient scriptures about the planet moon when it's malefic and kind of a disease it can give. So that's one area. When we come to Mars, when it becomes malefic, the kind of diseases it can give, or the body troubles it can give, is tumors, knotty tumors. That's been described in the ancient scriptures. Boils, because again this fire element, just like the planet sun, but with planet sun the sages have not described as boils and tumors. The sages have described sun directly related to high fever, temperature, and ailments related to the head, especially headaches which cannot be diagnosed. What's that name of the headache which you have pain in just half of your head? I'm forgetting that name, but that's something which, you know, doctors say, well, we don't have a answer to that, so the best remedy is to just eating or having painkillers. But here with Mars, it's the sages have mentioned very clearly that, you know, tumors and boils, and also sometimes injury to the body through fire or even weapons. That's kind of a relationship to Mars. So, you know, you could see people get injured handling even a kitchen knife. That could be, you know, try to find out, is Mars causing the problem? Do we have to look at his birth chart and see? Well, sometimes people, you know, burn their hands while handling the kitchen fire. Well, is Mars behind it? Tumors, is Mars behind it? Boils on the body, is Mars? Because that's been described very clearly by the ancient scriptures and the sages. And as far as Mercury is concerned, when it's malefic, it basically gives you problems related to the stomach, and Mercury also can give you problems related to the skin. So, you know, you could see somebody suffering from any kind of skin ailments, and you will immediately, you know, try to connect it with the planet Mercury. Mercury has been described in the ancient scriptures as, if malefic, can even bring on leprosy. Okay, and leprosy was very prevalent in the ancient ages, and now of course leprosy is not that prevalent because of the progress of the medicine, or the science of medicine rather. But ancient scriptures connect leprosy with Mercury, and of course leprosy is connected with Rahu as well, but then Mercury is related to skin and leprosy, and also colic pains, you know, pains in the intestines. So that's another problem which or another disease which Mercury can bring in. As far as Jupiter is concerned, it can give problems with diseases of the spleen and body fat, so as to say. That's another area where, you know, you should see whether it's the affliction of Jupiter which is causing this. One of the reasons could be Jupiter. When we come to when we come to Venus, it can produce problems related to diabetes. Okay, so not always. It's always, you know, if a person is diabetic, it has to be related to the planet Venus. But yes, Venus has a strong connection with diabetes, as described in the ancient scriptures. Also, diseases related to the kidneys is again something which Venus is associated with, and venereal diseases, you know, sexually transmitted diseases, because Venus is about the sexual organs and the sexual diseases. So that also has to be seen. If somebody has that kind of a problem, is there a connection with the planet Venus in his birth chart? That has to be seen very carefully. Saturn, again, it rules over the muscles. So problems related to the muscles, the nervous system, so as to say, and also diseases which are afflicting the joints. Like I said, in this video we cannot cover each and every, the planets are related with many other diseases, but I'm just going through real quick about some major problems associated with these planets. And the whole idea is to see it from an astrological angle and try to solve this problem through remedial measures which have been prescribed in the ancient scriptures. So that's the whole idea about it. And Ketu, the planet Ketu, is related to itches on the body. Okay, so if the skin is itchy, body is itchy, or even smallpox. Ancient scriptures have described smallpox with the planet Ketu, and Ketu behaves like Mars sometimes. So diseases which you have discussed, like boils in the body, it could be either Mars or Ketu. Both have to be seen here. So that's a disease related to Ketu, one of the diseases. The other planet, Rahu, it's been mentioned in the ancient scriptures once again that epilepsy is one area which is related directly to Rahu. We have not been able to figure out a cure for epilepsy so far, and that's because if it's linked with Rahu, it's not easy to diagnose its cure, because Rahu and Ketu are shadow planets. It's very difficult to first diagnose it and then to find a cure for it. So epilepsy is directly related to Rahu. Smallpox, just like Ketu, Rahu is also connected with smallpox as given to us by the ancient scriptures. So whatever I'm going through is through the ancient scriptures. It's not something which astrologers have expressed based on their experiences with dealing with birth charts, because they could be definitely wrong, but the scriptures cannot be wrong. So smallpox related again to Ketu and Rahu, and also any problems related to fungus, worms, flies, that has been mentioned very clearly. And leprosy, once again, just like Mercury, has been related to the planet Rahu. Okay, so these are some of the, and once again I'm repeating, some of the diseases which are related to these 9 planets which we just discussed. And it's also been mentioned in the ancient scriptures that whenever there is a disease which is found to be related to a particular planet, so the approach should be first look at the disease and then look at the birth chart and analyze and try to find a connection. There may be a connection, there may not be a connection. There's something which you may not be able to understand, but if you can understand it based on what's been given in the ancient scriptures, that yes, it's been described in the ancient scriptures that this planet is related to this disease, and you can see it, there's a connection in the birth chart as good astrologers related to the houses of diseases, so as to say, is related to this particular disease and this particular planet, and you can come to some kind of a conclusive analysis. Then of course it's been mentioned that you have to propitiate the lord of these planets, or these planets themselves which are causing these diseases. Okay, so once it's been very clearly mentioned, once you are able to propitiate the lord of the planets or the planets themselves, then it's been very clearly mentioned that they will, the people who are inflicted with these diseases will come back to, or will get back their health and will be possessed with health and happiness and strength of the body. That's also very clearly mentioned. So I thought this was very important for us to understand as to what the relationship of diseases is with planets, so that we can have a Vedic astrological approach and to try to treat the diseases along with, of course, medical measures, either Western or Ayurveda or Unani or or Chinese. There could be so many ways of treating a disease through medical measures, but at the same time, if we can propitiate the planets or the gods associated with these planets, then it gives us an added tool to deal with these diseases. And and by remedial measures, so on and so forth. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. In the meanwhile, I will recommend subscribe to my channel and check out my website. There is a link below, and I will see you with an interesting topic on Vedic astrology very soon. Goodbye.